Hey, it's Alexis, and it's time to do my January wrap-up. So, a little bit of statistics for you. I ended up reading 14 books this month. I DNF'd one. I read a total of 4,911 pages, and I had a 3.92 average star rating this month. No 5-star reads yet, but that's okay. We still have 11 months of the year to go, so hopefully we'll get at least one. I'll start with the book that I DNF'd. The book I DNF'd this month was So This Is Love by Tracy Andreen. This is a sequel to the book called So This Is Christmas. It's about these two characters named Arthur and Finley. Finley lives in this place called Christmas, Oklahoma, and their town, actually takes pride in their name and makes it themed for Christmas or whatever. In the first book, Arthur visits there and Finley has to take him and show him all these cool things. I think they feed reindeer and go on a sleigh ride, stuff like that. And then in the second book, it's them going back to school, and it starts immediately after the first book ends. I did enjoy the first one, but I read it in 2023. Well, now it's 2025, and my reading tastes have changed a lot, and I didn't care anymore. I was not interested in this. It is a young adult book, so I think that it's a young adult romance, so I think that's what did it. I think I've aged out of the young adult romance category, so I didn't care. It's not a bad book at all. I would recommend it if you're of the age or you really love young adult books. I would recommend the series. I just think that I've aged out of it, so I just didn't care anymore. So I read, I want to say to page 75, and then I couldn't do it anymore. So this was my DNF for the month. I also read one book for school, so we'll talk about that one real quick. I read Works and Days, Theology by Hesed? I don't know how to say it. It's this book. This is 2 plays that were written a really long time ago. Hold on, I don't remember if it said 800 BC, a really long time ago. One of them has advice in it. So there was some really weird advice, but it was advice on how to farm and advice on how to be a man. And it was also saying, this part was really funny to my teacher. He thought it was hilarious, but it was saying that women are evil, and if you get married, then you're just throwing your life away because now your wife is I guess your boss or whatever, and women are evil and they will destroy everything that you have, or something along those lines. And I was just this book is, I don't really care for it. And then in the other one, it was telling us I don't know, it explained how Aphrodite was created, and it was talking a lot about Zeus and all of his children and stuff. It was a poem type thing, but it wasn't, I don't know, it was different than the first one's what I'm trying to say. They weren't about any of the same subjects. So it was interesting, I guess, but I didn't really care about it. Okay, now to the fun reads that I read. So the first book that I read this year was called This Time Next Year by Sophie Cousins. And I ended up rating this one a 3.75 stars. So this book was about this girl named Minnie Cooper. Not even kidding, that was her name. She was born on New Year's Day, and she's felt her entire life has been very unlucky, and she feels really bad things happened to her because of when her birthday was and because of what her name is. And she meets this guy named Quinn, who was born the exact same day as her, year and everything. I feel a few minutes apart from each other. And she feels every bad thing that's happened to her is his fault because he stole her name. His mom and her mom ended up being roommates in the hospital when they were born. His mom's freaking out while she's in the hospital about to give birth, and her mom is trying to comfort his mom. And she's like, do you want to hear a secret? This is what I'm going to name my kid. I'm going to name her Quinn. And he ended up being born first, got named Quinn. So her mom thought that his mom was stealing the name, but we find out later that wasn't the case. But because she thought that at the time, she named her kid something else. So now this poor kid has been stuck her whole life with the name Minnie Cooper because of a misunderstanding. But because of this misunderstanding, her mom has like made it seem like that's why all this bad luck's happening. So when she finally meets Jack, she's blaming him for the years of bad luck to her when he had nothing to do with it. Did I say Jack? I meant Quinn. I just read a book with a Jack in it. That's my bad. Minnie's blaming Quinn for all the bad luck that's happened to her, which is not fair because he was born, like he was a baby. He couldn't pick his name. And growing up, he heard a different version of the story than what she heard because both women had a different outlook on it. I don't know. I liked it, but I also, like, didn't. I don't know if that makes any sense. And there was, like, a lot of, like, jokes in here. Like, they were not that funny. They were kind of like terrible dad jokes. So, if you're into that, you might like it. But, I don't know. Like I said, it wasn't a terrible book. I gave it 3.75 stars, but wasn't my favorite. So I gave this second book that I read 2.75 stars. But I might bump it down to like 2.5. I read Not in Love by Allie Hazelwood. And it really hurts me that I rated this book this lowly. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I read Bride last year. I absolutely hated that one, but I liked this one less. I don't know what that says about me. I feel like this book had really good potential. So this is about Rue, who works as an engineer, I think. Yeah, a biotech engineer. She works in this, like, really cool company. Like, she loves her job, whatever else. Well, then these people come in and try to buy the company. And one of the people is Eli. Eli and Rue met at the bar the night before, like, the story takes place. They were going to have a hookup, but then something happened and they never did. So it was going to be like a one-night stand, whatever. Then he's trying to buy the company she works for. And like all that storyline where he's trying to buy her company, all that. I love that storyline. Like I was invested. But then it was like every other chapter was nothing but spice. And that really just pulled me out of the story. Because they weren't even in a relationship. They would never like commit to each other. It was just spice. And I don't know. I know people like that. And like that's fine. Like you can have your own opinion on that or whatever. I would prefer if it's not in there, or if it's in there, it's not the main force of the story. I knew it was going to be a little spicier, but I didn't expect it to be the whole book. So I was not a fan of this one. And I know that she has another one coming out this year that's also going to be a little spicier. So we'll see if I like that one. But yeah, like it's really hurtful that I had to rate this one so low because she's one of my favorite authors. So then the next book that I read was Kingdom Keepers Disney at Dawn by Ridley Pearson. This is book 2 in the series. And I rated this one 3.75 stars. I don't know like what I can and can't say about this one since it is, you know, the second book in a series. But if you have not read the series, it is a middle grade series. So just like beware of that. It's still a really good one though. I really have been enjoying them. So in the first one, these 5 kids, I believe, are holographic hosts of Magic Kingdom. And at night, when they go to sleep, they like can all dream basically the same dream, but in their dream they like wake up and they're like walking around the Magic Kingdom. Like it sounds really cool. And then when they're there at night, weird things start happening and they have to fight, like, and the first one was Maleficent. So like these books are really, really cool. So if you're like a Disney person, I think I would recommend these because they're really fun. And they're middle grade, so they're like easy to read, easy to keep up with, and they're just fun. So I would recommend these. Next, I read The Rewind by Alison Wynne Scotch, and I rated this one 3.5 stars. This book was kind of weird. So these were 2 college sweethearts who broke up right before they graduated. And they wake up together in 1999 in the same bed. No, and like neither one of them have a memory of how they got there. So they're like trying to figure things out because they showed up for their friend's wedding. And now they're like in the same bed and they don't even know what happened or how they got there. They're like trying to live their life the next day and like get their memories back and like figure out what happened. Because like I said, they woke up in the same bed with wedding rings on and no memory. So this one was really interesting and really funny, but it was also kind of weird. I think I might recommend this one though, because I did have a really fun time reading it. The next book that I read was Caraval by Stephanie Garber, and I ended up giving this one a 4.25 stars. And I want to jump into the next one. Like, I wanted to immediately, but I still don't have it. I'm about to order it though. It's gonna be here soon. But this is about two sisters who go to this event called Caraval. You have to have an invitation to be able to go. There's a bunch of, I don't know what they're called. I guess like trials and riddles and things that you have to solve to win the game. And I loved this. I just had such a blast. I switched between reading the physical copy and listening to the audiobook, and I was just obsessed with it. And like I said, I have the second one. It's coming, and I'm so excited to read it. So I think I would highly recommend this one, like this series. And then I know there's a spin-off series, so I'm excited to read that one as well. But I really, really enjoyed this one. And then I read Games Untold by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. I personally don't think that this book should have been written. It hurts me, like, to say that because I love this series so much. But this was just like a bunch of short stories that like take place in that universe. And like each character had like their own little story thing going on, which was cool and all, but I don't know. I feel like she either could have done more with this or just not written it at all. Yeah, at this point, I feel like she's just trying to get everything she can out of this world. And listen, I will still read the books when they come out because like I said, I love this series. But I think that she needs to start a new series and just move on from this one. But I will keep reading the books. Next, I read Educated by Tara Westover. And I actually listened to this one on audiobook. I'm not giving it a rating since it is a memoir, but I will say, everybody please read this book. I feel so bad for Tara. She is such a strong individual. She went through so much. It is so well written, and I loved it. And yeah, I'm not rating it though because it is a memoir, but please read this book. And then I read So This Is Love by Elizabeth Lim. And this is one of those Disney Twisted Tales books, and this one is about Cinderella. I ended up rating this one 4 stars. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. So, growing up, I never really cared for Cinderella. I don't know why. She's not a bad princess or anything. She wasn't my favorite, so I didn't really care. But I like this. So, the twist in this one says, what if Cinderella never tried on the glass slipper? And I would recommend this one if, like I said, you're like a Disney fan or if you really like Cinderella, because this one was really, really fun. I did listen to the audiobook of this one, so I feel like that helped me a little bit more as well, but I would recommend this one. Next up, we have a really fun one to talk about. So I was on Libby and I was like, this book's on my shelf. Let me listen to the audiobook of it because I don't know why. I've been in an audiobook kick lately. And I know that some of you will probably say that audiobooks aren't reading, but listen, they are, because I'm still absorbing the same information. So, whatever. I decided to listen to the audiobook of Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. Can we just sit here for a minute? What is this book? What is this book? That's my thoughts. I don't even know what all happened in this book. So it's about this person named June Hayward. She's friends with this author named Athena. Athena dies because she chokes on a pancake. Y'all. A pancake. Well, now she's dead, so June decides she's gonna take Athena's manuscript for a book that's not been released yet. She's gonna tweak it a little bit, make it her own, and then publish it like it's her own book. Your best friend just died in front of you, and now you're stealing her book and writing it off as your own. Excuse me? And if that wasn't already bad enough, it just keeps going. This book is crazy. And June tries to make herself look like the victim the whole time. And sometimes you almost felt sorry for her. This book had me feeling so many emotions. Even my husband was kind of listening to it with me, and he was like, what in the heck is happening right now? Like, he was getting into it too. And I don't even know. So if you've read this one, somebody please talk to me about your thoughts and feelings on this one, because like this one is so crazy. And I still think about this one. I read this, when did I start this? I read this one on January 12th, and I still think about it, like daily. Today's the 31st, and I still think about this one daily. Somebody please talk to me about this one, because this was crazy. I almost want to read it again. Then the next book that I also listened to the audiobook of, because like I said, I'm on an audiobook kick, was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So this is one of her books that is like, I don't want to say interconnected standalones because they're not, but she has 4 books that are all in the same universe, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And this is one of those. So in that universe, if you're wondering, it's The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Daisy Jones and the Six, Carrie Soto's Back, and Malibu Rising. So I gave this 4.25 stars. Oh my gosh. So this is not my favorite book by this author, but I still really loved it. This book was so sad. It was so tragic. Oh my gosh. But I still loved it. There was still enough drama and stuff to keep me wanting to just come back for more. It's about Mick Riva, and he's a horrible man, by the way. Terrible. And it's about his kids. I just felt bad for these kids, like their whole life. So much went on in this book. It's really, really sad, and it really is tragic. But I would still highly recommend it. Like I said, it's not my favorite by this author. Like the first few chapters, I was kind of, this is boring. But then it started to pick up, and like the whole vibe of the book changed like halfway through. But I would still recommend this one. Give it a shot if you liked any of Taylor Jenkins Reid's other books. Next up, I read Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. This is about Alexis, who is a ER doctor, but she also feels like she's like failing, I guess, in life, because her parents wanted her to be like a neurosurgeon, but she's just like an ER doctor, which doctors are still amazing, even if you're not a surgeon. Like, I don't know why she felt the way she did. She then is going to a funeral for a family member in this small town, and she comes across Daniel, and I just love him. But they have a one-night stand. That's how this book starts out. So there is a little bit of spice, but just like at the beginning. But I really, really love Daniel. He is probably one of my new favorite book boyfriends. So this is book 1 in this like interconnected standalone series. I read Just for the Summer last year before I realized it was part of the series. And like all the dots started connecting when I was reading this one. So do with that information what you will. But I really, really enjoyed this one. And then I read The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. This book was so good, and I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. I really, really, really enjoyed this. So the first few chapters, I was reading this one and I was like, I don't really know how I feel about it. This is probably not gonna be rated highly, or I might DNF it. Well, that was okay. And we're back. So I threw the book and it landed on the lamp and it unplugged it. My bad. So I read The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I really, really, really did enjoy this. At the beginning of this book, first few chapters, I was like, I don't like this. This is weird. I'm not interested, I guess you could say, I'm probably going to DNF it. Well, I'm so glad that I gave it a chance and I did not DNF it. So this is about this girl named Lucy who's working as like a kindergarten, I guess, assistant or something. And there's this kid that was in her class a few years ago who she feels really bad for. She wants to adopt him. His name's Christopher. She would read him this book series called Clock Island. And the author comes out and says that he's going to write one more book. And he's only going to have one copy of this book, right? He invites certain people to his island to play this game. And the winner gets this book and they can do with it what they want. Like they can publish it, they can keep it for themselves, like whatever they want to do with it, they can. Lucy gets invited to go and she's trying to win this book because she thinks that it will mean a lot to Christopher. And if she was able to sell it to a publisher to make money, then she would be able to adopt him. This book was so good though. Like I'm glad I stuck with it and gave it a chance. And I really wish she would write a sequel to this one. And then the very last book that I read in the month of January is The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. And I gave this one 4.5 stars as well. This book is so good. So the first chapter, this lady, Hannah, I feel so bad for her. She goes through so much in the first chapter. Like, her entire life crumbles all at once. It's just heartbreaking. She works as an executive protection agent, which is basically a bodyguard. And she gets hired to take care of this guy named Jack, who happens to be like a big old movie star. Because he has a stalker. And he has to come home because his mom is sick. And he wants to like be there to take care of his mom. But because of the stalker thing, he can't just like be there by himself. His team has to hire him a bodyguard. But he doesn't want his family to know that there's a stalker and that he's in potential danger. So he asks Hannah if they can pretend to date. So now Hannah's pretending to be his girlfriend. And because he tells his parents that she's his girlfriend, his mom invites her to come stay with them at their house until Thanksgiving, which I think they said was like 4 weeks or something. So she's now like basically living with this guy for 4 weeks, pretending to be his girlfriend. And I was laughing and also like crying throughout this book. I really, really, really enjoyed it. So that's all the books that I read in the month of January. I want to say I picked 8 books for my January TBR. Guess how many of them I read? That's right, I read 6 of them. That's a lot for me. I actually DNF'd one of them, so I would have read 7 if I would have finished that. So there's only one left I didn't read, so I'm going to push it over to February's TBR. I'm really proud of myself, and you guys should be proud of me too, because I actually almost completed a whole monthly TBR. So in February, I have to complete it. I just have to. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching today's video. Please let me know if you guys read any of these books and what you thought of them. And if you read Yellowface, please talk to me in the comments because I need somebody to talk to. And thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.